Assassin's Creed Mirage has stated that the game will have real gambling. Real gambling. What that means, we're going to talk about that in just a moment, but this is one of the scariest things I've seen listed in a game's description in a very long time, and it really has me concerned for Assassin's Creed Mirage and what type of precedent this could set moving forward for all games if this is something that they can actually get away with. Also, we've got a rumor from the senior editor of Chip Hell concerning the NVIDIA RTX 40 series launch, the models that'll be available, and when those models will be coming out. And this sounds like fairly concrete information. And also, I had a hell of a weekend, and I'm going to tell that story at the end of the video, but let's get into it. But first, today's video is brought to you by PrimeTechMart.com, where you can save money on software like Windows 10 Pro licenses for under $25. They've also got Windows 10 Home for under $20, and now Windows 11 Pro you can grab over on PrimeTechMart.com. They've also got Office 2019 and the new Office 2021. And if you want to save an additional 20% at checkout on Windows 10 or any other software, go ahead and click Buy It Now, and during the checkout process, go ahead and put JP20 in and apply that coupon, and that'll give you 20% off of any software that you happen to pick up over there. So for Windows 10 Pro, you can see it dropped our price down from $24.46 to under $20. So be sure to hit up the links down in the description below, and don't forget to use my coupon code JP20 at checkout for an additional 20% off. First up, Assassin's Creed Mirage, which got its full reveal. There's been leaks circulating for a while, but got its full reveal over the weekend during the Ubisoft Forward event with its first cinematic trailer. We didn't get any actual gameplay or anything like that, so the way that the game is actually going to play and look could be very difficult to discern, but it's probably going to be a lot like an Assassin's Creed game. But I'm not really here to just talk about the gameplay of Mirage or anything like that. I'm here to talk about the fact that it is going to have real gambling, and that has actually affected the rating of the game over on Xbox's website or on the Xbox interface where you could pre-order the game. So if we take a look here, you can see the game is actually rated adults only, 18+, which is a pretty rare thing for them to dish out, because usually that means you'll have a harder time selling it in actual physical stores and things of the like. So, I mean, that's not a major concern, but it's very rare to see an 18+ unless the game is just really, like, just full on about sex or really, really bad shit. You're not going to have it for, you know, like really gory looking kills or anything like that in an Assassin's Creed game. But it states that it's 18+ for intense violence, blood and gore, sexual themes, partial nudity, and real gambling. And the rest of this shit doesn't really bother me at all. Real gambling doesn't really even necessarily bother me. I gamble all the time. I bet on football all the time. But having real gambling in a video game is setting a bad precedent. And what that real gambling means is also another major topic for discussion. As of right now, the only description that we have is that the player can gamble, including betting or wagering real cash or currency. That's all that they state. So you're going to be able to gamble with real money. Now, does this mean you'll actually be able to gamble with other humans, in the game, actually going against them and, wagering against them? Does it mean you'll be wagering in the game? Like you can find like some kind of, this is set in the Middle East back in the day. So whatever kind, maybe there's a real, gambling thing that happened back then that you can interact with real money, which is kind of scary. But I think this is really what they're talking about here is going to be loot boxes. That's my tinfoil hat theory, is I think they're using the real gambling here in reference to loot boxes, which is terrifying to think that they actually have to call that real gambling now. But whatever it is, whatever the gambling mechanic in the game is, I have a feeling it's going to be extremely egregious, because this is Ubisoft we're talking about here, folks. And not only that, the fact that they are already seems to be getting ready to soften the blow, so to speak, of this gambling mechanic, is that the game is listed for $50, which might sound great all on its own. Oh, the game is $50, great. Ubisoft isn't going to bend us over the barrel. It's $50 for the standard edition of the game and $60 for the deluxe, with a lot of developers and publishers selling games for $70 nowadays, even remasters or remakes like Last of Us Part 1. So $50 might sound, oh great, good guy Ubisoft doing us all a favor. I'm not one to give them that old attaboy on the back right away. I'm thinking this is to, like I said, sort of soften the blow from the fact that this game is going to have some egregious loot box or gambling type mechanics built into the core gameplay of Assassin's Creed Mirage that I think could be some of the worst we've ever seen. And the fact that, like I said, that they're pricing this at $50 as sort of a, they're giving themselves like a get out of jail free card right now. So when the game launches and everyone's really pissed off about this gambling mechanic, they could say, well, hey, the game's not $70, we lower the price. Which some people have said in the past, like, oh, if you're going to have loot boxes, the game should be cheaper. Well, I don't think that gives you, carte blanche to do whatever the fuck you want and put gambling into a video game. I'm smelling a lot of feedback coming from the community on this one, but let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, especially with the fact that even though the game could be rated 18 and up, it doesn't mean kids aren't going to play it and have access to it, potentially with their parents' credit cards. And then, we've seen what happened with that in the past. Some kid fucking spends 50 grand from his college fund on fucking Bedazzles or Bejeweled or whatever that fucking game is called. Candy Crush. That's one of them. That's a game. I couldn't think of anything. Fortnite skins, whatever the fuck. This doesn't smell. It doesn't smell quite right to me, folks. Doesn't smell quite right to me at all. But sound off down in the comments section. I'm curious what you guys think about it. Last up, before we get out of here, we got some information from the senior editor, Napoleon, over on the Chip Hell forums, who has given some interesting information on the upcoming RTX 40 series, which we're expecting to see revealed at GTC on September 20th. So, he said that it is reported that the RTX 4090 will indeed be showcased at GTC 2022, and that the card will be launching in October. The editor also stated that the RTX 4080 is going to launch a month later, after the RTX 4090 in November. So interesting that they'll be going 4090 first with the flagship, and then we'll see the 4080 in November, and no word on 4070s or anything like that. They do have it listed here as a potential December launch, and then the 4060s in January. That could happen, but we didn't see anything concrete, or there's nothing concrete. Take it all with a grain of salt. It's rumors, it's leaks, folks. But given that this is from the Chip Hell senior editor, I'm willing to give the guy, a little leeway here with his predictions or leaks that he's putting out there. Now, he also did say that was not the only new piece of information that we got. We also learned that the RTX 4080 will be getting two variants. This is not the first time we've heard this, but he said the RTX 4080 will get two variants, one being a 16 gigabyte model and the other being a 12 gigabyte model. And they've also heard that the rumors for the power on the cards is that will be a 340 watt power requirement for the 16 gigabyte, and the 12 gigabyte will have a reference TDP of 285 watts. So that's where everything we've got on the 40 series. Don't have anything else to really add to that. Just wanted to keep you guys up to date on everything, all the goings on with the 40 series, which I am hoping we will see in just 8 days' time. What day does that land on, actually? What is... The 20th is next Tuesday, so a week from tomorrow. I should have been able to figure that out myself. A week from tomorrow, hopefully we will be seeing an announcement for the RTX 4090 and the 40 series and getting our first look at Ada, and I am excited for it. I'm looking forward to it. There's some games that I'm struggling to run at a solid 60 with 4K and ray tracing and all that stuff, even using DLSS. So I'm hoping to get a new card to sort of like edge it over the goal line, and also pair that up with a new 7950X when those come out at some point later in the year. But that's all I've got in the world of tech and gaming, folks. Before we get out of here, I had a crazy weekend. I just quickly had to, I feel like I had to talk about it, but I didn't want to front load it at the beginning of the video and lose a lot of people in the first couple of minutes. But if you're still here, I appreciate you. So Saturday, I went to a Yankees game, Yankees versus Devil Rays. I was actually originally supposed to go with a buddy, but he had a crazy weekend coming up, and he was just flying back in from Nashville on Friday, so he ended up having to cancel, which was fine. I actually even told him, I was like, hey, dude, you got a lot on your plate. If you can't go tomorrow, I totally get it. I could probably find someone to go. And ended up going with my fiance's dad, my future father-in-law. We went to the game together. He's in his 70s, but he loves the Yankees. He loves football, so we were going. We had a great time to lead up to it, but in the fourth inning, he actually passed out in the stands and cracked his head pretty good right on his eyebrow, pretty much. It was just probably like he didn't drink a lot of water. He had a couple of beers, and then the sun kind of had just come around like a half hour earlier to like where it was pretty much beating right down on us. So it was just probably a combination of dehydration and the heat and everything, and he just passed out, hit his head, and he came to a few minutes later, He was kind of like, disoriented and everything, and everyone was helping him. Like the people at Yankee Stadium, I mean, even one of the fans was a off-duty firefighter. He was giving him a lot of help. I didn't get the guy's name, unfortunately, because we were rushed out of there really fast after that. But huge props to Yankee Stadium and their security people, and the NYPD people on staff in there as well, and the EMTs that came and everything like that. Fantastic. I mean, they took care of him. They got him out of there as quick as possible. And we rode an ambulance over to the hospital, where we spent like the next 12 hours, I want to say. That was a hell of a day, hell of a night. It took forever, because what happened was the gash on his eyebrow was so deep that they couldn't give him just normal stitches. They actually had to wait for a plastic surgeon to come in and do it. So it took forever. Like, I was in the hospital with him for about 6 hours, and then my fiance drove up. It's about a 90-minute drive to New York City, from where we live to this hospital. So she drove all the way up with her cousin, and she went and stayed with him, and we kind of waited in the car, and we went and got food, brought back some pizza and stuff to the hospital for him and for her and stuff like that, while she sat with him, because you can only have one person in the room at a time, because of COVID and restrictions and all that stuff. So she stayed with him for like an additional 6 hours. And then we drove home, because they realized he was going to probably be there overnight waiting for this plastic surgeon. So he ended up spending the night. We drove back home, got home at about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. And then she went back up there at like 9 a.m. the next morning, Sunday morning, to go pick him up. Absolutely horrendous experience, all of that. And I am still exhausted to this day. At least yesterday we had football, so got to watch my Raiders unfortunately lose to the Chargers, which would have been nice to have them win in general, but also just to cap off a pretty rough weekend. But that's it. So that was my weekend in a nutshell, folks. Hope you guys had a better weekend than me, honestly. But the Yankees did win, and they actually went up like 7 runs in the first inning that game, which was pretty awesome. Like, it kicked off great. There really wasn't much to see the rest of the game, so we didn't miss too much, honestly. Doesn't mean I didn't want to stay, but, it is what it is. These things happen. Also lost like $45 worth of food because he was hungry, and I just had went and gotten him a sausage and pepper sandwich, and I got him a beer, and I got myself a water, and he was like, just had the first bite in his mouth, and he just went boom right on down to the ground. And it was, he didn't even get to enjoy that sausage, unfortunately. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll catch you tomorrow for another one. Peace.